Hey everyone, welcome back to the Class 1A podcast. Today we're here to dive into episode 21 of season 6. We're getting towards the end, only 4 episodes left after this, and this was a phenomenal episode as we get towards the end of the season. My name is Andrew Nimsgren, and as always, I have James, Graham, and Dylan Beal alongside me. How are you guys doing today, and how are you feeling about the conclusion of Lady Nagant after 2 very quick episodes?
I have one big question here. Is her speakers that she talks through like separate objects that she's putting into her hair, or is it like an additional quirk that she has on top of all the other quirks?
Oh,
I'll
I
let,
didn't.
I'll let you ponder that for a little bit while you do your
Yeah,
intros.
I was doing great until you hit me with that. Like, you hit me with that, and now I'm just confused. But no, I thought like fucking sick character, man. Good stuff. Good. I'm enjoying this. We're on a good track this season. I'm more than pleased.
Yeah, it's phenomenal, and I think it's crazy how many characters still have been introduced this season, and they all feel phenomenal. They all feel like they've gotten their own moments, or even characters that were just here for a second in older seasons from the War arc, that really got to shine out here too. So, Lane again, just another amazing character to the roster. One that it doesn't look like we'll see too much more of at this point, considering the end of the episode. But nonetheless, it was really great to kind of have that, and it led to a couple of really cool things. So again, we've kind of moved away from the recaps and whole. We're just talking about the big things because each episode is so contained now versus earlier on, and we felt like there's 83 things happening every single week.
Yeah.
And today, I really want to dive into kind of talking about the brand new quirk, Fa Jin, with the faux 100%, which is also really cool. I want to talk about Lady backstory, kind of the whole Deku's realization the world's morally gray. Congratulations, you learned something that everyone kind of learns like the first year of high school. So he's taking major steps in his hero journey. And then 2, other assassins potentially coming, a mansion in 2 months, another time skip. What exactly is going to happen there? So I think what we all love to talk about the most is new quirks. So Dylan, what are your first thoughts on Fa Jin, and how would you describe it of exactly how it works?
All right, so welcome to my thesis on Fa Jin and the grander themes it pulls up to. No, I think Fa Jin's interesting because it is like a distillation of like all for one or one for all into a singular quirk, if that makes sense. Of like the idea of one for all, right? It's just a stockpiling quirk. That's what Fa Jin is essentially, right?
Yeah.
Right, it's a stockpiling, but it's a very acute stockpiling.
Mhm.
So I thought that was really interesting. Does it have anything to do with like the grander thing of how this quirk works? I don't know, but like that aspect is really cool. So essentially, how it works is Deku can make little bits of movements. So the first example was he basically like squatted like a whole bunch in a row like this, and then it stored up in his legs, and he was able to like execute it instantly. So I think this is really cool. It's such a cool quirk. It reminds me of you're a big Nintendo guy, Andrew. What is the thing in Breath of the Wild where you can freeze something, you hit it a whole bunch, and then you release it?
Oh yeah, I never played that, but I know absolutely what you're talking about. And anyone that's ever seen a Zelda clip knows what we're talking about. But that is kind of what it is. Just it's another kinetic energy kind of tool. Which again is what it feels like. It feels like another tool. I think a lot of us kind of thought a week or two ago that at some point there has to be some kind of combat ability. And now it just seems like there's only one left. I mean, I guess you can think of this as a combat one because theoretically, I mean, again, I'm very curious. They're going to answer a lot more of this. We're just introduced to Fa Jin, but we know Deku can't really use his arm as much with like 100% all for one. But like, if he pumps his arm back like 1,000 times and then use 50%, is it going to only have like that same impact of 50%? Is it going to be like 400% now? Like, I think that that'll be interesting. See how it can be used offensively versus just escaping here, and seeing if that's how they get around that 100% historic smash, which we kind of saw here.
Well, I
Well,
was just gonna say that, like, yeah, we are seeing you know, it's that's why they're calling it faux 100% because it's a fake version of 100% one for all, right? Because it's just augmented by Fa Jin. So I think it's this really cool workaround that his body can't handle that power going 100%, but he can kind of find a way to do it with Fa Jin. So it's like I still consider it a combat quirk. Like, yeah, it's not like Black Whip or anything like that, but it's much more, I think, a combat quirk than a tool. Like Smoke Screen is very much a tool. Float's very much a tool. You know what I mean? Like you can't use them really offensively. You can use them to get offensive advantage, but I think Fa Jin is something that's used both as like as a tool, but primarily you're using it to deal damage, which he did with, of course, the most like suitable named Manchester Smash, right? So I'm assuming that's a football reference. There's no way it's not, right? Like,
Well, isn't Manchester like a city?
what?
I
Like
I,
Manchester, like United.
no, I think it probably not. It's probably not because
No?
like his is still like okay. Here's the problem. The problem is it's a reference made by like a Japanese manga author. So like there could just be like a Manchester City, America, and or
Yeah,
she could just
there's
like
a Manchester in like the UK. The Manchester United is based out of the Manchester City in the UK.
So that's what I mean. Yeah, but that's what I mean. Like Manchester's known for football.
yeah, and
There's also,
it's a kick, and like yeah, he's kicking, and his whole thing
yeah,
was like soccer because like that was like his feet thing. So it could be.
yeah. That's what. Yeah, that's where I was. That's where I was going with that.
Yeah,
like,
because if his punches are All Might like All Might American City smashes, then his legs are football references.
Yeah,
because they're soccer.
that's
Seems
real
like a
easy.
step down,
That's
in my
that
opinion.
is not a stretch. Like,
I the one thing I do think we're getting into the territory of with this new quirk though is what I like to call weeb math, of where you just start adding like a whole bunch of numbers together to like because we put like this like fake limit on Deku and we need to get around it now. So we're gonna use weeb math just to make it he's just gonna be strong. That's what this is. Wave some hands, he's just really strong, he's gonna look really cool, and that's all that matters.
And I love how, but it's just funny. Like you agree, it is weeb math, but they didn't assign like percentages to anything else except for all for one.
Yep.
So they made it very clear, like across the screen for like 5 seconds, all for one, 50%, and then they just said all the other quirks in succession, and then whoa, 100%. Like somehow those three just equal 50%.
Yep.
Like I don't know if I'd want to know like the individual percents, but it was just so funny how much they focused on numbers without assigning like, oh, with Fa Jin, that's gonna be like an extra 40%. Black Whip's like 10%. Nope.
yeah,
Just put it all together. So it is funny how that I don't think they're gonna keep. I mean, I don't think they will just keep calling it fake 100 or faux 100 forever. They'll probably just start kind of calling it 100% or something like that because it'll be obvious to us. But
I can see us moving away from the numbers pretty quick. Like I think it is. I think you like we might see it like each break point, but I think that's really like I think it's just basically to give like a numerical value to Deku's growth, and that's basically it at this point. You know what I mean? Like I think we've really moved past that like him trying to like find that fine line between like how much can I do and how much can't I do sort of thing. Now it seems like he's got a really firm grip on everything for the most part. He's not like we even see it in this episode where long gone is Deku, who's like still trying to figure out how to like work, like make these quirks kind of like interlock and work. It took him like maybe like 5 minutes to be like, okay, I can't use all 5. I'm just gonna use 3 really, really good, and then boom, I beat the bad guy, right? Like,
is this the first fight Deku's taken most of his injuries not from himself?
he's had the shit kicked out of him before, right? Like
When? He ended up in the hospital because he broke every bone in his body trying to fight Shigaraki, but Shigaraki didn't do much damage to him. Chihaski didn't do anything to him. There's no one. I mean, maybe Muscular might have broken like a hand or something, but didn't do major damage to him. When does Deku take a damage besides this fight? Not self-inflicted. Outside of movies,
yeah, most of the time it is self-inflicted because it's always him trying to punch something and someone blocks him in a way of where they block him and it makes it feel like they did damage to him, but it was really just him dealing damage to himself.
Stop hitting yourself.
Yeah. So again, I think it's something. Obviously, last episode, or I guess 2 episodes now, when he fought Muscular, easily taken care of him, kind of showing that growth in the forest arc here. But I think this is now starting to show that I hope as a show overall that it stops going away from, okay, the limitation on the battle is going to be when Deku breaks all of his bones, but now it's like when Deku actually can't fight any longer, which is kind of how it feels like most fights are. Like if you look at a lot of other main shonen, it's when the main character actually gets the shit beat out of him and he can't go any longer. Before is when Deku just went too far. So I hope we keep kind of seeing that because it makes fights more interesting. Like, shit, what if eventually Deku lost an arm? like
Yeah.
because of that, instead of actually just breaking his arms over and over again and not being able to use it for that fight. So I don't know. I think we've definitely seen the darker turn continuing. Obviously, usually at the end of a fight, there's always a happy ending, and this wasn't one by any means. So I think it's very, very interesting to see if
You-
they
well,
keep up the tone and escalate it.
Yeah, just to kind of like really touch on the tone of it. You're like, and Andrew, you said this basically at the beginning of the episode. Like, we are seeing like this very like the bright-eyed like only wants to do good. Like, you're seeing that like worn away. Like he is now finding out all the cracks and crevices of society and what morally gray circumstances kind of like evolve from that, right? And I think this is really, really chipping away at him. And you actually, for anybody who like sticks around for the preview, because I'm pretty sure neither of you guys do.
I did it.
Yeah, so he ends off this preview with saying, "Don't worry, I'm fine." Which, like, I mean, for Deku is just like that's like the biggest red flag for him, like in the world, sort of thing. So I think it's really cool that we are finally seeing that growth, that like you, like, or not even, I don't even know if I'd call it growth or just like exposure. You know what I mean? Like, you're waking up to the realities of the world, right?
Yeah, I would say like it's weird growth, right? Because
Yeah.
I don't think it's inherently painful growth for Deku, because I kind of disagree with you here. I actually don't think him figuring out things that are like morally gray is actually even affecting him that much, because like he still didn't hesitate trying to save people in this episode. Like this is at the moment of where he should be at his darkest, but like he still never hesitated. He still just went for it without even thinking. Like he still did the thing that makes Deku quintessentially Deku. So like I think he's like learning and he's getting exposure, but like he's not having that moment of where he's being like
He's not questioning anything.
Yeah, he's not being beaten down to be brought back up from it.
Well, yeah, but that was also still mid-fight. So Deku at the end of this episode was still completely different than the Deku 4 minutes earlier in the episode, fighting Lady Nagant and saving Overhaul. He's now at the end. You just literally how Deku looked was different. His hair was all down. We saw those eyes there. Like it was obviously, even just during that fight and seeing what happened to Nagant changed there. So I agree that I think overall he's staying the same, but I think even from that moment when he was talking about morally gray and learning all that to the end of the episode was a lot of growth. And this seemed the closest to Deku ever wanting real revenge.
So, okay, so I know we're calling it growth, but the real word for this is trauma.
Yeah.
It's trauma. Like it really is. Like I mean, that's really what's happening to him. Like
there's synonyms.
Wait, why would he be having any trauma? Someone just blew up in front of him.
Someone just blew up in his hands. Yeah, exactly. Right? Why would he be traumatized by that? Right? Like that's just it. Like that is essentially what he's experiencing. Right? Is like, and it's just being told in ways that really just, like, they start like picking away at the filter that he has on the world, right? And I don't think it's a filter that's necessarily bad. Like he's not doing it for like any reason to mask something. It is just like he was really trying to see everything black and white. Like, okay, you're a villain, I need to beat you. So you know what I mean? I think, and I'm just gonna bring it back. This all started with him dealing with Gentle Criminal. I think it all goes back to that. Gentle is the first villain who doesn't. He's not a villain for malicious reasons. He's a villain because he tried and failed, and he tried to be a hero and he failed at it, right? So I think we've just been slowly seeing this wear down of, fuck, people are complicated. Like, people have reasons to be why they are, sort of thing. And it's I think it's really easy to get caught up in that, because All For One is just, he's just a bad fucking dude, right? Like he's just from the core, he's just evil, right? So it's really easy to put that filter on everything else, but not everyone is that bad.
Yeah, and obviously Deku learned two big things this episode. One, and what every high schooler learns is that everything is morally gray. And two, what every college student learns is that every single government is corrupt. So you got to take all that into account too. So you learned that a couple years early, but that was a very big thing too. That I think, again, is something that Dylan, I think you talk about this all the time, about hero society, how it has to be.
Oh, I thought you were going to talk about corrupt governments, but
corrupt government.
Also
that's where it all kind of goes into. But that didn't need to be rebuilt, and I think this might be the episode. We've gotten snippets here and there about the issues with it, even from Hawks too. But I think this was the next level of that. The Gant was literally sent just to kill vigilantes. We were all big fans of
Vigilantes.
Vigilante series.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
like, just imagine if like that series, like if they tied it all together, is like with literally Nagant just coming and killing all of them. Is really what it was. Like they did good. We know what they did for everyone, but it didn't matter. And that Nagant's job was just kind of killing heroes and vigilantes for no other reason but the government wanted it.
That would
Which
have
is
been a
also
sick tie-in, though. I would have been really
that
happy
would've-
about that.
it still could be called out at some point. We still haven't seen Koichi in the main series.
Fuck,
There
we
could
need
be
to
a
see Koichi
flashback
in
at
the main
any point.
series.
They can't just killing them all. Um, but that's also another really big thing. So really, a lot of kind of lore drops and awakenings for Deku here. But I think
In
that trauma at the end is really what's going to shake them.
in the midst of a sick fight, though, like this fight
Yeah.
was gorgeously animated.
So cool.
It was
Love
yeah.
seeing all the quirks.
Yeah, I do really want to talk about Nagant though. I like Nagant. She's great. I like her design, but like I do really want to talk about like the bullets and like the speakers in
Hmm.
them. Like I know I was joking about it, but like, what is that? What was that?
Is that like so? Would you consider that like because Nagant is clearly like she's an older character. She's been around for a while, right? Do you think this is like a case of like quirk evolution?
That's such
Like
a wild jump.
or,
Again,
or like quirk awakening with her?
No, I
but, like,
actually-
it obviously happened at like a much earlier stage with her, right? Like
No, I actually do think that she just put like little speakers in them. Like she took
No
them
way.
out and like, and then just shot them.
and what does she talk into? She just has a lav mic attached to her shirt
Yes.
at all times?
Yes.
Like, no.
Yes.
Like, the more quirks we see, the more we realize quirks are bullshit. Don't ask questions. Just accept them. This is definitely part of the quirk. She's not carrying around electronics and batteries on her at all times. She's wearing a mini skirt and a tank top. Like, this girl is not carrying anything extra. It's part of her quirk. It makes no sense, but it adds to the story. So don't ask questions.
I think her current costume, she's not wearing a miniskirt. I think she's in like trousers. I think it's
Oh, is she? I just remember like during the overhaul when they're talking, she held up a miniskirt in the exact same color. Maybe
yeah.
that's what I was-
Yeah. But no, I like so like. But on that though, her character design is fucking sick. Like
love
the
it.
Really
the way
cool.
that
So
you
different than anything else we've seen.
it is. It's incredibly unique. Yeah. Like and just like for Horikoshi to come up with this and how for her to like manipulate her body to bring out this quirk sort of thing. Like it's just really cool. Like it's dope and like. I think they've done a really good job with her, like her character design overall, basically, because they told an entire character story in 2 episodes. They did that I would say pretty flawlessly too, right? Like you find out why she is the way she is, what happened, how she did it, what she turned into, sort of thing. Like the scene with her extending her hand and it just being covered in blood, like, top tier,
I love that.
fucking awesome.
Okay.
What?
Another thing, if you want to talk about bullshit quirks, how can this chick that her quirk is to turn her arm into a rifle make her arm 18 times bigger than it actually is too? Like the one point where she just makes it so much bigger. Like every other time we see her like making the barrel come out of her arm and stuff like that. But I don't know if that adds up to you being able to make your arm the size of an elephant's trunk.
Yeah, because it was what do they call it? It's telescopic inside. Because the idea of her arm is like it's the opposite. It works the opposite way that like a folding sniper rifle would work. Like if you were to collapse it up, because like her arm is the thing that collapses up to actually make it exposed instead of like the other way around. And so the
Yeah.
barrel is like telescopic, so like it can be small and extend out.
You see it because she treats it as like almost like a shotgun
This
sometimes
actually
too, right?
makes this actually makes sense.
That makes sense. But I'm talking about when she went to shoot Overhaul, she literally made her arm as big as muscular.
It's effects. It's
Like-
just emphasis.
I do know, but I do think it is. It's channeling more power into the quirk. I think that's what it really like. She
Yeah.
went from using it as like a standard sniper rifle to like a Barrett 50 cal and like trying to take out hot overhaul, right? So
All right.
yeah, but like no, it's cool too because like again, she's another human character. Because even that, like even Deku called her on her shit, being like, "You were gonna miss anyways. Like you shot that planning to miss, right?" Like, and I don't know. I think it made me appreciate and like a character so quickly. Like it was hard not to, right?
Yeah.
Nagant's wicked.
Yeah, and I think that's like Horikoshi flip flops between being one of the best writers and one of the worst writers of all time. Because damn, he is bad at writing some things, but like Yeah, this was
Especially women. Like he's notoriously horrible at
yeah.
writing women, but he wrote Nagant. Like I think
That's why he killed her off.
Yeah, true. He
just like,
writes.
I have a great idea. I can't risk this.
Yeah, he puts good like women characters in his manga only to immediately kill them.
Yeah, it's just like shit. I can't risk it. I need to get rid of him.
I know
You
his
can never
issue.
ruin a good women character if you just kill them off 2 chapters in.
Exactly, because he can't write growth for the characters. So he's like, all right, I'll make a cool character that kill him so I don't have to write growth.
Oh my
All that
god.
growth needs to go to Bakugo. That's all that matters. We don't care about growth on what anyone else in the show. As long as it all goes to Bakugo,
Space.
he won't complain about it in the end.
Straight up, all his character development is like I gotta.
Horikoshi, like we give him shit, but we also still buy into every single line that Bakugo says. That is 0.0001% of growth. As long as we get that once a month, we don't care about anything else in the series. So why do we even try to act like?
And we make an entire episode around it too. We're like, Bakugo's growing again. He's the best
This is
character.
the best writing we've ever seen in any kind of formatting. Like that's all we want. That's all we want as My Hero fans. We are simple people. Give Bakugo 3 lines of dialogue, and we are happy.
We're the happiest people alive. Yeah.
Bakugo just shows up. He's just like, Deku, I don't hate you as much as I used to, and we're all just jumping up, screaming.
And then he disappears for 6 months, and we don't care. The
world training arc comes back. Yeah.
Our bars are so fucking low for what we want out of this series. It's perfect.
It's it's literally the Gordon Ramsay meme of like just lashing out at everything except for Bakugo. Anytime Bakugo comes up, we're like, oh no, he's perfect. Like we can't. There's nothing. But like he mishandles like one other character. We're like, you're a fucking donkey. Like,
yeah. So as we kind of start to kind of wrap this up, kind of we understand what the next points kind of are towards the end. Is that Nagant originally was supposed to go to a mansion, and we get the exact kind of location in 2 months' time. And that there are other assassins that are told the same thing too. So there's really 2 ways of where that goes. One, Deku is going to fight through every single assassin in the next couple of episodes. Or 2, it's probably another time skip up until where the mansion is. Because I don't know what else you fill the gap. It feels like anything that's not related to the mansion or those assassins, like next week wouldn't make much sense. If you went off and had Deku go fight a random villain that has nothing to do with it. Because he knows where All For One's going to be. And that's kind of his whole point of why he's out here. So I think it'll probably just be a time jump and we get some kind of interaction next week, which would be really cool.
So I think this sets up really, really well the next and maybe final, unless they do, I guess, like a movie final. It sets up the next OVA movie. Because if they're like, hey, we need to go fight a whole bunch of people, and we only have 6 episodes left, 6 episodes fighting a whole bunch of people doesn't really add up. And so, like, I could totally see this being like a, hey,
we only have 4 episodes.
Oh, 4 episodes. I thought it was 6. But yeah, 4 episodes. Clearly not enough. Well, yeah, okay, not enough then. So this is like a, yeah, we're going to go fight a whole bunch of people. And then, like, the episode after that, it's like, hey, we just fought a whole bunch of people. Like, I feel like it lends itself to just being a really good OVA, especially since, like, this time period of where, like, things are kind of, like, broken and exploding and everything. If you want to do a time skip, you could just easily fit a movie in there. I think it'd be a really
100%.
good idea. And honestly, like, I like the vibe of all this stuff going on right now. I would love to watch a movie that's just all this. Like, just Deku just, like, doing this.
Yeah, and like I think this was a big thing that the 3 of us talked about when we got to this point in the manga, because it felt like you could do Monster of the Week, right? Like it was very tangible, especially with Nagant being like, there's other assassins. We're like, oh shit, cool. We're just gonna see Deku like really like fine tune all these quirks. But that's the shitty part about anime is that okay, they only have 4 episodes left. They don't move to that. There's no way they can, right? Like, in like, even though My Hero has very much not been to like a Monster of the Week show, it's never really done that. It felt appropriate in this moment in the manga, but here it's very telegraphed that it can't be that, right? So yeah, an OVA movie would be dope.
But again, well, I mean, it's an impossible thing. Maybe we can make a picture of what the movie would be at some point. But again, it can't be anything too big or life altering or anything like that, because we kind of know next week's episode, if there is a time jump, that Deku is going to be fine. So any kind of suspense during that time is low. That to be a lot more of like a drama movie and like on the ground with citizens than anything, and the threat of other people dying, not Deku, because no one would believe Deku is going to die.
Well, I mean that's the problem with all the OVAs is no one ever thinks they're gonna die. Like the last one, it was like Deku was like a world murderer who was put on CNN for being like a person who's killing people in mass, and then everything's fine now.
Everything's fine. Yeah, exactly. Right. Or we could just because and that's the shit part about like My Hero OVAs, because we either have that and it means nothing, or you do what is it, like the disaster relief simulation, which was like the most wasted 35 minutes of my life.
Oh well, to be
It'd
fair,
over Mr. Smiley.
No, Mr. Smiley was great. We don't talk
no,
we don't
no.
talk shit about Mr. Smiley.
Oh, can we move on? I hate him. I can't stop hearing that voice line.
All right, we will then move on for you, Dylan, and have you kick off what is going to be our Plus Ultra pick of the week, where we would pick a character, an idea, thought, anything that we want that went beyond, that went Plus Ultra this week. Dylan, what is your pick?
My pick is pretty easy. It's Deku. He's a Chad. He's just being a Chad right now. He's walking around. He's saving people. He's like, yeah, I knew you weren't even going to shoot him, you idiot. I knew there was good in you. He's great.
You idiot.
Yeah, you dumb, beautiful idiot talking to Nagant. Anyways, I'm sorry. Yeah, it's Deku.
Move on before you could talk any longer.
So I'm actually gonna give it to somebody who we didn't really talk about on the episode at all, but I think had one of the most like OG badass moments in this episode, and it's All Might. All Might literally just walking up, mean mugging two like C tier villains, being like, "Just get the fuck out of my way, man." Like I'm All Might. I look like this, but I'm still All Might. And he's the founder of Plus Ultra. He's the guy, right? He's the guy. So I think him having that opportunity to still showcase he carries that much presence, he gets it for sure. It'll be the last one that All Might ever gets, but that's fine. I'm so fine with it.
Good pick.
All Might was definitely one I thought about there too, and I think I'm gonna do kind of 1A, 1B. 1A is definitely gonna go to Deku, obviously. I mean, the full 100%, the no hesitation. They're pretty much bringing back someone that was scoring down the entire world. So being willing to help him again, all in a matter of like a 5-minute fight, pretty damn impressive. But 1B is going to go to Horikoshi for reflecting the real world and showing that even in My Hero Academia, all governments are corrupt, and that is the most realistic thing about the entire show. So I do respect that from Horikoshi. And he did write a good character for him. So I give him that as well.
Just to kill her off immediately.
Just to kill her off. But that is going to be it for this week's episode of My Hero and the Class 1A podcast, where we cover everything My Hero Academia. We'll be back next week for episode 22 as we start to get towards the end of the season. We'll start talking about our off-season plans as well, but we have a couple more episodes to dive into, so we'll get all of that first. But thank you all for watching and listening, and we'll see you all next